Hello and welcome back to the TheDropOutDragon. Today we're going to be looking at the Butcher's Knife. Now this weapon is very hit or miss with me, and hopefully we'll cover that in the video as we talk about some of its strengths and weaknesses. But for now, let's just go over the moveset. So here are the normal R1s with the one-handed, and here are the R2s. You get a nice jump forward. Here's the first R2. Get that big old nice jump forward. It doesn't have a lot of tracking, so beware, but if they roll away from you in a direct line, chances are, if you time it right, you're going to hit them, and it's going to hurt pretty bad. It does have a follow-up on a second R2, but I doubt you'll be using it all that often. So, two-handed, these are the R1s, and this is the R2. And I say the R2 as that's the only R2 two-handed is this slam down. You can charge that and get your hyper armor with it. There is some hyper armor on the one-handed R2, but you have to charge it up pretty seriously to get that. And I believe the same as can be said about the R2. You have to charge it just a little bit. So the sword art isn't a sword art as it is a buff. It is a self-buff, and the reason why this weapon can't be refined, it can't be heavy infused, or it can't be buffed. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and why I think that's a major weakness for this weapon, because this self-buff is not very good. It is very situational. It adds a little bit of AR attack rating, and it's not a whole lot, and in fact nothing compared to, say, a resin or a regular buff from a catalyst of some type. It is not very good, and it doesn't last very long. What it does give you is a little extra attack rating and a little bit of HP regen. Now this is good against, PvE stuff. This is good against people who are turtling, but really it's so situational. I don't see anybody really using it in PvP. It seems kind of difficult. I think this is really a very good PvE weapon, but PvP I'm not sure. The axe move sets in of themselves are inherently flawed by the fact that they don't do a whole lot of damage up front, and there are faster weapons that outclass them even in damage, unfortunately. And they're extraordinarily easy to set up parry. One of the biggest things about this weapon is, that I noticed right off the bat, is people parried me more than I think any other weapon class that I've used. People just see an axe and they go, oh, that's easy. And one of the things is if you spam with this weapon, if you say go for 3, hitting somebody, because you'll get two hits and you'll stun them for 2 hits. But their recovery is so quick, if they just mash the parry button, they're going to get you on the 3rd swing. And you can try to time it to where it doesn't happen if you really want to spam, but I think it's just kind of too risky because they might be just spamming the parries, mashing their L2. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. It's very easy to set up, and that's both the two and one-handed. It's very, very easy, and they can just smash the parry button and get you, so you have to be kind of careful. So, how to use this weapon? Unfortunately, I think the best play style for this weapon is pretending that you have a longsword, kind of getting in people's face and trying to get them to roll. It does have range. It's one of the strengths of this weapon, is having range. I would say it's close to a dark sword. If not farther than a dark sword, if not the same as a dark sword, it is pretty good in that regard, range-wise. But I don't think its damage backs up really getting in there and trading with some of these weapons. There's straight swords that do more damage than this weapon. Yeah. Let's fight now. So you have to be pretty careful. There's not a whole lot of pressure you can put on people with axes, so you have to be kind of careful. All right, he's got his buff. Hopefully he's ready. All right, let's get in his face just a little bit. He wants to parry. See, everybody wants to parry. They see this thing and they think, oh, easy parry. And they're not wrong. It is fairly easy to parry. I've parried a lot of people. He's getting in my face. I will go ahead and R1 right there. He's trying to chip through the shield, but he doesn't have enough through just the buff. You have to have an infused weapon to do anything decent. Try not to trade with anything when you're using this weapon. Let's mix it up, throw out the R2. No, I didn't charge it, so there's no hyper armor there. You have to kind of charge it for that to happen. Missed him there. And he'll punish his running attack. Oh, no stun there. That was interesting. Kind of seems hit or miss with those stuns, but he tried to run up and parry. Thankfully, we got him. So, I don't know. The Butcher's Knife is very hit or miss. I feel like The damage isn't very good. I mean, compared to some of the other weapons in the game, I mean, the damage is actually pretty horrible. I think going against something that outtrades you and has hyper armor like an Ultra Great or even just one of the regular Great Swords puts this weapon as a serious disadvantage because you're not coming anywhere close to their damage and they're hypering right through it. And you kind of both have the same speed for hits, which is kind of difficult to deal with when you are facing a weapon that just absolutely outclasses yours. And I feel like a lot of the axes have that problem. That being said, against some of the faster weapons, you can catch people in rolls because their recovery frames, you know, normally they're spamming or they're trying to punish you, but if you space it correctly or you've got your shield up, you might have the possibility of catching them in a roll. But don't try to trade with them either because they're still faster than you. So you have to be kind of careful. I don't know, like these weapons are very hit or miss. We got another guy who really likes that L2, which is bad because that means if I do anything that becomes too predictable, he's just going to parry. I'm going to go for a backstab real quick. I'm sure he disagreed with that. And I was thinking if he was going to come up my face, I might try to parry him. Oh, no stun. So you can catch people in rolls just like that. Kind of have to use it like a straight sword. He's got the black blade. See if I can catch him in this. Yes, we can. There we go. You can surprise people with that R2 because it does get some range on it when you're jumping, and you'll smack them and get them, and it's not terrible. It's not terrible. I use it often. It's not just like I'm using the R1s and only the R1s. You can get people with an R2. But I just feel there's a lot of weaknesses to the axes, and I feel like they are serious PvE weapons. They weren't really thought out for PvP. They're in the middle between everything. And in a game that is so fast, where people have so many recovery frames as Dark Souls 3, a weapon that's kind of in the middle of other things isn't that great. It seems like all the weapons that have a specialized moveset, they really just outclass this in doing what they do. A weapon that is good at everything is actually not good at anything in a game like this because of the speed and the recovery frames. That might change in the future, but as of right now, I feel axes are one of the lowest tiers of weapons. I feel that might change in the future, but who knows. When it comes to two-handing the weapon, it has almost the same speed and a little bit more damage than the R1, so there is that is a positive, but people know you're going to get kind of spammy and get in their face if you're going to be doing that. So I'll switch over to the two-hand, and they're going to try to punish it because it is a little bit, but I do have the range. I have some range. I have a little bit more range than he does, so even if he gets his hyper armor, he's still getting hit, which is nice. Yeah, that Dark Souls 2 timing. That ain't gonna fly here. That ain't gonna fly in Dark Souls 3. So you got to be careful. Oh, and he just went for it. See, and I traded, and that was a mistake. That was a mistake because I don't have the damage or the hyper armor to trade with anything that does. And it's spooky when you know just about everything else can. And he's just trying to punish movement. He's doing a really good job at it, actually. That's some very good curved sword work. And he knows that I'm just looking for my ranges. Nothing. Shockwave right there. He knows that. And I'm just not giving it to him. But given enough time, I'm sure I will. Given enough time, I'm sure I will give it to him. There we go. Throw out that R1, get that range in there. You got to be careful. You have to be careful with these things because they're so outclassed by everything else. And unfortunately, oh, there we go. Get that. Oh, didn't get that. Oh, getting close. Got to play a little reactive, which is that's the way you got to play with these weapons. Like I said, you kind of have to pretend it's a straight sword. We're getting in each other's face. Oh, he caught me on that rolling. That was a good rolling. He's thinking, okay, he doesn't want to trade with me. But he knows we're both like one hit away, and there it goes. I thought maybe I could space that. Maybe I could come in, but I guess I timed that just all wrong. It does happen. But you gotta be careful. Maybe I'm just not very good with it. It could be that I'm trying to cover weapons that everybody has. I just haven't had a whole lot of luck with a weapon like this, and to be honest with you. So you have to play it smart, and if you don't play it smart, you're gonna have a bad time. I probably could have done a bit of better shield work in that fight, but man, he was just punishing movement and saying, "No, you get out of my face. We're not doing this. I'm not going to let you punish all of my rolls." He knew what he was doing, and that just sort of mentality when they see a weapon like this and say, okay, this thing only really hits people in rolls, I better just not play like an idiot. And he was able to do that. So that's another weakness of this weapon, is that anybody who knows how the weapon is used is just going to never give you the opportunity to use it. It's that counter play style, or even counter weapons. It's going to get you, and it's going to surprise you. So you have to be careful. You have to be real careful. Maybe I'm not an expert on this weapon class. I'd like you guys in the comments to tell me what you think or how the weapon should be used. I was thinking before, maybe a weapon like this would be better for invasions than it is duels. I'm thinking if you could back up a little bit away from a gank, and you could throw on that little self buff, you could get some serious HP back if you were hitting the whole group at once. Maybe, punish them for getting close in your face, play a little reactive there on the invasion. I'm thinking it might be better for that. But for straight up duels, when you're going against long swords or the Gothard swords, or even a curved greatsword or something like that, you're gonna have a bad time. You're not gonna do very well. So we have a katana here. Katanas I'm not too worried about with a weapon like this, because I know I've got my shield. I'm not going to let him running attack spam. I don't want that in my life. He's really getting in my face, which is interesting. I wouldn't do that against an axe. Unless he plans to parry. He might plan to parry. But the range, yeah, he plans to parry. I'm going to get him on that timing there. Ooh, 420 damage. He really wants to parry. I could see he was waiting for it. He didn't want to trade. He wanted to parry. He's not thinking about it. He's just getting hit. Yeah. And the tracking on the R1s is not very good either, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna sharpen it up. Intimidate him a little bit. So he really wants that parry, but he's not getting it. I'm thinking it's easier to hit somebody with the R2s than it is the R1s. I'm telling you that, because poise, we still don't really know how poise works. It seems to be one of those mysterious mechanics. But if you guys have any more information on that and you want to talk about it in the comments, you go ahead. But I don't know. I feel like a weapon that just can't. It doesn't pressure. It doesn't trade. It doesn't. All it really has is its range and its roll catches, and it doesn't have like a high speed. It doesn't have hyper armor. These are things that are lacking that other weapons just have inherently, and you think, man, I'm in such bad space here. Of course, I could just be bad, so you guys let me know in the comments if that's the case, because it feels like there's something I'm not clicking. I'm not clicking with this weapon. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a play style that works really well with it. Maybe there's a combination of weapons that work really well with it. Who knows? But you guys got to let me know, and maybe we'll revisit the butcher knife, or we'll revisit the axes and say, hey, they're not so bad. Dragon was just really bad at them, and he complained a whole lot because he's shit. Which I'll fully admit can absolutely be the case. So it looks like we have a caster, so we'll see how that goes. They've got a rapier, so they're going to be putting a lot of pressure. He's doing, yeah, he really wants that. Holy crap. Hopefully he's one of the casters that doesn't have a lot of health. I'll go ahead and punish the cast. Not give it to him. Watch for those crystals shooting out of nowhere. And we got more soul mass. He's holding it out. He's probably trying to do the split fire. Got my shield up, so I'm waiting. Yep, didn't give it to him. Go ahead with the rolling R1 and try to trade with him. There we go. Catches right there. But that was a little spammy on my part, which probably, depending on the situation. There we go. Giving it a catch. Probably wouldn't be a great idea against something like Gothard's, but with a rapier, the rolling R1 tracking with a rapier is not so good. So hopefully you could take advantage of that against other rapiers, with just about any weapon, by the way. So your tracking might be better than theirs, only at the rolling R1 because theirs is not so good. So I was able to punish that as he wanted to get in my face and put in insta pressure with that rapier. Good stuff. And props to him for trying to do a magic build. I know that pain. Whew, Jesus, like sometimes you're just crying. It's no fun. And you're just trying to get through it. Because let me tell you, quality builds just shit all over anything that does anything else. Unless you're doing like a luck faith with Henri straight sword, then you out damage quality build. Otherwise, you're having a bad time. I think, at least. Oh my goodness. Very casual video, as you can tell. I don't have a whole lot to say about this weapon, but I wanted to cover it because everybody had it. Everybody has a butcher's knife. Everybody killed that NPC that gave them a butcher's knife. So, you know, we talk about it and see what you guys think. And I'm sure, you know, you were looking at that 24 strength requirement and you were saying, man, you know, that's going to get SS scaling. It's 24. I wonder if it's ever going to be good. Well, you know, maybe save some of the slabs for other things because this one is not so good at the moment. See, right there, I'm just totally out-traded, and with a butcher's knife, it's kind of awkward for me as a person who's played the other games. There we go. Got a nice trade there. Not letting him have it. He wants to go for a parry. See, everybody here, they see this, and so you have to be aware of the fact that they want to parry. You have to be aware of that, and then maybe time your attacks just a little bit better. I'm watching him. See if he really wants to get up on the chase. Oh, hit me there. That was my fault. There we go. He was trying to time out his running attack, maybe catch me in a roll or something, but we were able to do that. I don't know. I feel like, in summary to this weapon, because I think I've shown just about anything you can do with this thing, everything you can do. With this weapon, I feel like the ability to not infuse it or buff it on your own really detracts from it, as the whole point of the weapon being an S scaling is to get some decent damage out of it, but anybody who has refined at 40/40 would absolutely outdamage that if they were using the same weapon, if they had some magical butcher's knife that could be infused or something. And I feel like the damage doesn't scare people. The fact there's no hyper armor on most of its attacks doesn't scare people. The weapon just doesn't intimidate people. It doesn't keep people out of your face. It doesn't trade well. It's got things that are missing that other weapons have inherently. And it doesn't seem to have any major strength of its own. That's how I feel about axes in general. The butcher knife maybe even more, only because everybody has it. And it's supposed to have this great S scaling, but it just doesn't really work out for you. So sadness ensues in that, but I don't know. We'll see how it turns out in the future. We'll see what patches come. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you saw a little bit of this weapon, whether it's worth it or not for you. I still think that it's a better invasion weapon than I do a dual weapon. But if you guys have any advice for me on the axes, feel free to comment below. But as for now, the Dropout Dragon is dropping out.